Well, I think we're ready to get started for the deep dive this morning. I want to welcome everybody, and I am not Steve Harney. He is out for today, but glad to fill in and participate in this deep dive. Glad to see everybody and get started this Monday morning. So it's the first Monday in March, and the final 2023 home prices are out. We're gonna look at those, and we're going to take a peek ahead to 2024. So I want to give it just a minute to let folks join and get started here. So if you are joining right now, let us know where you're joining from. Always so good to see KCM members and folks all across the country that join the deep dive every Monday morning to really be the expert and be able to explain what's happening in this market. You know, I think prices is one of the topics that more than anything else, we need to be able to explain, and we need to be able to have a relevant market opinion based upon fact on this topic, because it's what people are talking about. It's what people are wondering about, what's happening with prices. So as you're coming in, like I mentioned, let me know where you're watching from. Say hello. Our team is monitoring the chat. Caitlin's out there. If you have a question, drop it in there. She'll get you the answer, and we will get started. So glad to be on this Monday morning and get started with the deep dive. If you missed it, I mentioned just a minute ago, we're talking about prices. Really about the final numbers for 2023 and a peek ahead to 2024. And this is a topic right now that I will promise you, you can put some content out there. You can share this topic. If you're a KCM member, you can go grab the things. There's going to be a real talk script that I'm going to talk about to share this information, and it will get people talking and get them engaged. So if you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. It's great to see everybody on this morning, taking a look here at folks joining. So glad to have you on, and glad to get a chance to see everybody this morning. So I'll get started here where we always start the deep dive. I love this position. Most agents know what's happening, and that certainly is true in the market today. Good agents understand what's happening, but great agents can explain what's happening. And, you know, I think as you know, we've done the deep dive each Monday morning. Steve certainly championing that and being the, the one that has said, hey, in the market today, you need to be able to explain what's happening and have a relevant market opinion based upon fact. And that's why we're going to cover this topic. You know, it is a topic in home prices that many are interested in. And many are wondering about. You know, I think about this topic as we wrapped up 2022, and many were saying, you know, we're going to see home prices fall by maybe 10 or 20% going into next year. Well, now we have the final numbers here to look at for 2023, and then we're going to give you the latest update and a peek ahead to 2024. But if I were to, you know, sort of set up our time together and give you maybe a look into what people think about home prices from a recent survey from Fannie Mae. I would use this one right here. It's the consumer confidence in home prices. It's a survey that Fannie Mae does every month, and it's the number or percentage of people that believe home prices will go down in the next 12 months. So let me take a look at this, and let me break it down and park here for just a minute. It goes all the way back to 2015. And if you look at the left side of this graph, sort of those orange bars to 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, leading all the way up to the pandemic, you see, I'm going to call it normally, maybe 10%, somewhere around there, 5 to 10% of people think home prices could go down in the next 12 months. Well, the pandemic comes around, you see the gray bars, and it sort of shoots up, and people are like, you know, we're going to have major problems in housing. And pandemic passes through and kind of falls back down. And then as we've gone through the last couple of years, the red bars there of repeated talk of the housing market's going to crash, and here we go again. Consumer confidence forward-looking in home prices has taken a pretty big hit, you know, to where the reality is right now, 1 in 5 people still believe prices will depreciate. You know, the great analogy always is you think about, you know, your neighbors, you think about you go out to dinner tonight, you're maybe at church, you're around 5 people. One of those people believe home prices are going to go down over the next 12 months. And so being educated on this topic, sharing information on this topic is key right now. Really having the knowledge to be able to explain it is key. I had a wonderful experience when I was coming out of college. I got to work for a man named John Maxwell, who's a leadership author. And he used to always say this, and I want to remind you of this morning as we tackle this topic of home prices. He said this: a leader is one who knows the way, who goes the way and shows the way. And that's what I'm going to ask of you this morning is, one, first know this topic, know everything about it so that you can explain it. And that's what we're going to spend the next few minutes on. And then walk in that direction. And as you do, you'll take other people along with you in your office and other people along that maybe you're serving, and show others, show the way. Share information, share videos, share things out in the world so that we can get the truth about home prices out to people that are wondering. Okay, that's our job. That's what we need to do this week and going forward. Our goal always on the deep dive is to give you that education so that you can do just that. Well, if we look at 2023 home prices, we have the final numbers in. They come from Case-Shiller. Remember, this is same home sales. It runs in arrears. We don't get it until a couple of months, certainly lagging. And this is a look at 2023. And we started off the year with slight home price depreciation as we went through the fall and the end of 2022. We saw slight home price depreciation month over month. But then in February, seasonally adjusted prices began to rise, peaking over the summer and sort of tailing off. And if you recall, if you've been on previous deep dives, the seasonal, the almost 50-year average of seasonal prices, we know they peak around spring and summer, a little bit different this year, but positive home price appreciation month over month, each month of 2023, outside of the very slight depreciation we saw in January of last year. So we get these final numbers out, and this is what they look like. Case-Shiller says 5.5% appreciation. CoreLogic 5.5%. Black Knight 5.6%. Freddie Mac 7%. And FHFA 6.6%. Slight variations in there, and certainly the homes and the price points that are measured by those entities. But somewhere we can safely say that 5.5 to 6.5% is what the consensus generally of home prices is. Now, why is this so important right now? This is a topic that we can talk about, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. It's a topic as well that I believe many people are wondering what's happening with home prices. And certainly if they maybe saw something or heard something in the past of, gosh, this is not a sustainable market and home prices are about to go down, and just wait until we turn the corner on this thing, and certainly the home down the street isn't worth that. We need to be able to have a conversation about this and really about why this is the case. And I believe one of the key things that we can talk about in this is the lack of inventory across the country. That lack of inventory is always going to keep upward pressure on prices as we go throughout the year, and certainly that will be true in 2024. But the question that always comes up when we do price sort of deep dives or things like this is, well, what about my city? You don't understand what's going on in my city. Well, we actually have from Case-Shiller the 20 city index, and this is the final 2023 numbers in the top 20 metros across the country. And what do you see? You can go down from Atlanta down to Washington, D.C., positive appreciation in each one of these metros. The one that we were sort of on the fence on, it was Portland right there, 0.3% appreciation. You see San Francisco there, a little over 3%. Some other markets out there that maybe you're in and you can see, but not a market right now that we're seeing depreciation in. Now, I think as we have this relevant market opinions, we're out there talking about it, getting this information in the hands of folks is going to be important. And let me give you a little perspective about that. Brian Luke from S&P Dow Jones says this: looking back at the year, 2023 appears to have exceeded the average annual home price gains over the past 35 years. Goes on to say, while we're not experiencing the double-digit gains seen in the previous 2 years, above trend growth should be well received considering the rising cost of financing home mortgages. What's the story there? We're not seeing 15 to 20% that we saw in 2021, 2020, the years, the unicorn years. We're seeing slightly above average home price appreciation, not unhealthy home price appreciation. And if you go back to 1980 or several years back, you see the average, according to Freddie Mac, it's almost 5%, 4.86% in residential real estate is the average. And now we've exceeded that based on what I just showed you, but we're not certainly in an area like you see sort of these high green bars that come along in 2020, 2021. A very normal year in residential real estate. And why is that's so good? It kind of goes back to the quote. That bodes well for affordability. We're not seeing prices rise to the extent that we saw in the last several years. I'm going to break down a couple of other indexes as well so that you have those. FHFA, we see the same story here. That we see appreciation starting to rise in the spring months, sort of cresting over the summer and coming down into the fall. Appreciation still not as much as the summer. Same story as we saw there earlier. So as we look around, many people thought 2023 was going to bring depreciation in residential real estate, and certainly was not the case. FHFA said this: house prices rose in 49 states between Q4 of 2022 and Q4 of 2023. The one state there, Hawaii, down 3.4%. And we certainly know the story there, and our hearts go out to everybody affected by the wildfires there, and certainly has had an impact on real estate in Hawaii. But in the other markets, we saw home prices rise. They go on to say home prices rose in 96 of the top 100 largest metropolitan areas of the last 4 quarters. All 9 census divisions had positive house price changes year over year. This is what this looks like if you look at the maps from FHFA. Across the country, from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast, positive home price appreciation. A little bit more maybe in the South and up to the Mid-Atlantic and in central part of the country, less on the West Coast. But no doubt we're seeing a market that is improving, and a market that shows what I'm going to say a healthier level of home price appreciation than what we saw in years prior. The year-over-year results from Q4 by state are right here. I'm in Virginia. Our Keeping Current Matters offices are in Richmond, Virginia here. In Virginia, 7.3% home price appreciation. And I'm going to get into the impact that this home price appreciation has in just a minute. But you look at California, 4.9%, Oregon, 1.6%. A lot of that, remember we talked about Portland there, Texas, 2.7%. Depending on where you're at today, you can take a look at your state and even get that information out there. Here's what's happening in our state. Here's what happened in 2023, so that we can be the ones that bring that relevant market opinion. We compare Case-Shiller to FHFA and in sort of the month-over-month look. Again, we talked about slight depreciation in January, according to Case-Shiller, but then positive appreciation for the rest of the year. And so that is a great message to get out there. Let's sort of turn our attention for a few minutes to what prices look like going forward. And we've got a few things that have been updated, done a couple of things here to give you perspective as to what is ahead with home prices. Now, I want to just spend just a minute talking about a couple of things. One, the importance of this topic going ahead, because we live in a time in real estate right now where I would argue many are confused more than they've ever been, right? What's going to lie ahead? What's happening with the economy? Are we getting out of this inflation sort of mess? What's going on with mortgage rates? Is it affordable to buy a home? It's very interesting. I have 3 kids, 2 that are in college, 1 that is in high school. And each one of them I've had a conversation with that they have brought up about, am I going to be able to buy a home? Am I going to be able to afford to buy a home? And my answer is certainly you are. And I think we need to be out there talking about that for many, folks that are Gen Z or whatever generation that think they, might have missed out on home ownership. They absolutely will. So what's the perspective on home prices going forward? No, by the way, if someone believes, we started off talking that 1 in 5 right now think home prices will depreciate, nobody wants to buy anything that they think is going to lose value over the year. So we need to be able to talk about what's going to happen in home prices this year. First thing from CoreLogic, Selma Hepp, she does such a great job, always enjoy using her quotes. As mortgage rates continue to hover in the 7% range, it will be difficult to convince existing homeowners to move at the current time. Nevertheless, as a recent surge in mortgage application data has shown, following a drop in rates, buyers are anxiously waiting to jump into the market. That means that 2024 is likely to show another year of home price highs. Positive outlook from Selma Hepp and CoreLogic on home prices this year in 2024. Maybe that's not surprising to you, but I think being vocal about this is the reality of where we see things is important. She references the 7% mortgage range. A couple of things that we know about that. We're in a very volatile market right now relative to mortgage rates, and I'm not going to try to explain that. But here's what we know. Inflation has come down over the year. We believe we will see information come out that will lead to a better mortgage rate environment. This is what she's talking about, where she says, following a drop in rates, buyers are anxiously waiting. When that starts to happen, people are going to come out. We know that there are many, many people that put off a decision to buy a home last year that will make a different decision this year. So what's the latest outlook on home prices in 2024? Well, we've given you that over the last several months. This is the latest look at it. Average of these 7 forecasters. Now, I want to say one thing. We took Realtor.com off of this. They were showing depreciation in the coming year. And here's the reason why we took that off. They're only updating that forecast every 6 months. I would take a bet right now that when they update that in their next go around, they will show positive home price appreciation. But it's not an accurate look right now at home price appreciation. But the average of all these forecasters, 3.2% in residential real estate going forward. Now, that's not a message, I believe, that's out there in large that consumers can see, or maybe people that you're working with can see. They sort of hear, what they heard maybe 5 months ago or 6 months ago. It's stuck in their brain that, gosh, we're going to see home prices fall, and many people think that. One of the deep dives, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, Steve used a quote from Seth Godin: "People don't believe what you tell them; they believe what they tell themselves." Right? And if I believe that home prices are going to go down, and I've told myself that, then that's what I expect. But it's certainly a different outlook if you look at sort of the major forecasters right now. And here's one thing that's very, very interesting that they all have in common. If you look at the original forecast from these folks as to what they've currently forecast, they have one thing that is in common that every one of them has done. They have raised their forecast. Every one of them, as they've gone throughout the end of last year, beginning of this year, they've raised their forecast. They've gotten more optimistic on this 2024 real estate market. They've said, I think we're going to see more home price appreciation. And I think as we go through, as they update these, maybe over the next month or so, I think we'll see more optimism as we go throughout. Certainly, we see, an improvement in the mortgage market. We'll see even more optimism about residential real estate in the coming year. The one question that always comes up in this is, Is it more affordable to rent right now? You know, the rent versus buy scenario. And it's one that many people, when they do the math, maybe in some markets, they say, you know what, right now it's cheaper to rent than it is to buy in my market. And while, you know, dollar for dollar, maybe month in, month out, that could be true. I'm not debating that. There is one factor that always sort of draws a line in the sand and defeats that argument. It's home price appreciation and the equity that's earned from that. You know, one of the things that we like to use in understanding this is the home price expectation survey. It comes out every quarter. It's a nationwide panel, over 100 economists, real estate experts, investment experts, and market strategists that say, what do you believe is coming down the road with residential real estate? What do you see on the horizon? And they update this, they survey everybody, and they say, give us your perspective on what you see. And I'm going to give you, as of this first quarter, their latest information, what they see, and then what that translates into. So this is a look, December is forecasted in Q1 of this year. They think this year we'll see 3.78, we'll call it, you know, 3.8% residential real estate appreciation, 3.3, 3.8, 4.1. You see that as we go through 25, 26, 27, and 28. Okay, so a very normal real estate market, very normal price appreciation, not unhealthy, abnormal price appreciation, which, oh, by the way, is a good thing. That is a good thing for the health of our business. Now, if you take this and you translate that into the equity earned for somebody buying a home right now over the next 5 years, average home in this country, $400,000, you bought that in January 2024, what would that then be worth go through 2029, the next 5 years? Just over $83,000. Okay, so somebody says, should I rent, should I buy? Well, if you're planning on being there, and certainly, you know, there are lifestyle choices and all of those things, but let's assume there aren't any things, you know, I'm going to be in town for a year and it doesn't make sense to buy. Let's assume that they're going to be in this market. It certainly makes sense to buy right now. You know, we've done a couple of videos on Instagram as Keeping Current Matters out there to, you know, talk about this idea and get this message out in the market. They're always ones that people react and respond to and engage in conversations to really understand the equity position. Oh, by the way, what's the equity in my home right now? What will that be worth in the next 5 years? You can take this model and talk to somebody today or talk to somebody this week about what that means today, right now, what equity you have in your home, and what that will mean in 5 years. That's a very good conversation to have with somebody. It gives them perspective. You know, it gives them the education they need so that they can make a great decision for them and their families. I'm going to wrap up on this and give you a way to be able to share this information. We've published a Real Talk script, what you really need to know about home prices. You can go in and grab this script, record it via Real Talk on your phone, and get this out. You know, that's the ultimate reason that you want to be educated, is so that you can share that education with other people that you're working with and engage on a conversation about, okay, what does that mean for you? So go in and grab that Real Talk script. We'll be back next week with the deep dive, and certainly looking forward to that. It has been my pleasure to be back with you on the deep dive this morning. My hope is that you'll take this information, you'll use it not only to educate yourself, but remember what we talked about, but what John Maxwell always says: a leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Take this information, share it with somebody that you know needs it right now to understand what exactly is happening with prices. So I'm going to wrap up on that. Great to be with everybody for the deep dive. Good to see everyone. And we will see you back next week.